Good morning, and thank you for attending Chardan's 7th Annual Genetic Medicines Manufacturing Summit. My name is Daniel Gataulan. I'm one of the senior research analysts covering biotech here at Chardan. It is my pleasure to introduce our next guest, Craig Malzahn, SVP Technical Operations at Regenx Bio. Craig, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Right. The format for this session is a roughly 25-minute fireside chat. If audience members would like to ask a question during the session, please feel free to do so by typing it into the question box under the video player. Now, I'll make sure to ask it on your behalf. With that, let's get started. The floor is yours, Craig.
All right. I just want to share real quickly here a little bit of a video montage of our new manufacturing facility. Yeah, so this is the Regenx Bio manufacturing facility that we opened for operation last summer. The Regenx Bio Manufacturing Innovation Center is a GMP gene therapy facility designed and built for the manufacturing of NAV technology-based AAV vectors at clinical and commercial scale, supplying product for both common and rare diseases. The state-of-the-art facility in Rockville, Maryland, is housed in the same building as our research, process development, and clinical teams, which allows us to accelerate the process of developing AAV therapeutics. The facility includes 2 independent bulk drug substance production suites, a drug product fill line, and supporting quality control labs. Process development labs in the facility ensure we are continuously innovating and leading the AAV field.
All right. With that, we'll jump into questions. So first of all, if you don't mind spending a few minutes and talk about Regenx Bio as a company, and you mentioned some highlights about manufacturing facilities. Maybe you can comment how it evolved over recent times.
Yeah, well, Regenx Bio, of course, it's a company that's focused on AAV therapeutics. We have programs in multiple therapeutic areas targeting retinal disease, neuromuscular disease, and neurodegenerative diseases. So we have programs both in sort of more traditional large market indications and rare disease indications. Really, from a manufacturing perspective, historically, we have been primarily outsourced manufacturing through CDMOs. And we took the decision about 4 years ago to establish in-house GMP manufacturing capability, which we now have online. We had our grand opening last summer of the manufacturing facility. We're now on our 3rd production campaign. It is a multi-product facility designed to meet commercial global standards. Both bulk drug substance and final drug product manufacturing are under one roof now. And we run our production scales from 500 liters to 2,000 liter scale. So we now have the capacity to meet really projected clinical and commercial demand for the next several years.
Got it. So you mentioned that you relied on CDMOs in the past, and we know a lot of other companies do rely on CDMOs for their manufacturing needs. And you made that switch to the in-house. What were the key factors that led Regenx Bio to make that decision? And specifically, if you can give us some examples of how it benefited the company.
Sure. Really, I think it first and foremost had to do with our maturing pipeline of programs, multiple programs moving towards pivotal studies, and now we're in pivotal studies. So we felt like we had a wide enough breadth of programs, a number of shots on goal here, that it made sense for us to move forward with building our own in-house capability. There is real value, I would say, in direct control of product quality and compliance. It allows us to accelerate our drug supply to the clinic. We've already seen a reduction in our supply cycle time, significant reduction there. And it also allows us to realize faster technology introduction into manufacturing. The field has evolved so rapidly with the technology over the years that now having that in-house, we're able to make quick decisions, move that technology into manufacturing and improve process yields and throughput.
Got it. And you alluded, I guess, to some of those items, but in general, for manufacturing and gene therapy space, especially when you scale up to larger indications, it is key to make the process, the manufacturing process, more efficient. Can you describe some of the key considerations to the manufacturing process that you have implemented to make it more efficient?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really critical for these processes. So our process is based on transient transfection to produce AAV capsids. So scale up, of this process in the industry has been a real challenge. Getting the transfection efficiency and consistency is key to achieving high yielding processes. We've now successfully been able to scale up to 2,000 liters, which is pretty much the largest scale you'll see out there in the gene therapy and manufacturing space. So quite a big achievement, and really helps with our process efficiency. Very important for large indications as well as high dose therapies, and very important for reduction of cost of goods.
Got it. So in terms of those, you mentioned COGS, you mentioned time, obviously the yield, the volume, of those items. How do you prioritize? What are the items that are at the top of your list?
Yeah, I mean, cost, time, volume, all really important. I would say the prioritization of those will depend somewhat on where the product life cycle is, early stage or later stage going to commercialization. And what we find is when we're able to reduce time or speed the lead times up, and we're able to increase volume, as I talked about with the 2,000 liter scale, both of those translate into a reduction in cost of goods, which we know these are expensive therapies, and it's really important that we're focused on continuing to develop more affordable therapies.
Yeah, makes sense. And in terms of costs, as you mentioned, obviously the important driver, especially for large indications when you scale up. Can you talk about some specific innovations that you're looking at that help you perhaps reduce some of the key cost drivers?
Yeah, and we've already realized really tremendous innovation with some of these. So I'll mention first cell line development. We use an HEK 293 host cell line, really developing cells, selecting cells, engineering cells that are more effective at making AAV capsids. We've seen a big payoff in yield improvement coming from that. With the transient transfection processes, we use 3 different plasmids. So plasmid optimization is another area that we continue to work in, and we've seen benefits for better designed plasmids that transfect cells better and code for AAV capsids. The other key thing here is around the production bioreactor. We're using now suspension-based manufacturing in stirred tank bioreactors. So getting the bioreactor conditions, the nutrients right, the timing right, also plays a big factor in being able to drive costs down. And then finally, what I'll mention is continuing to refine our AAV purification techniques so that they're manufacturing friendly, and we're able to maximize yield recovery through the purification process.
Got it. Makes sense. So in terms of your new manufacturing facility that came online, I guess fairly recently, and is now operational. Can you tell us a little bit more about its capabilities and the capacity limits in terms of being able to meet the needs of your pipeline?
Sure, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's a multi-product GMP facility, which means we're able to make more than one program simultaneously in the facility. Quite important that we also have both bulk drug substance manufacturing and a fill finish or FDP manufacturing line. So we now can control those two aspects of the supply chain. The production scale itself is very important. So 500 liter scale is fairly reasonable, but being able to get to a 2,000 liter production scale and having the optionality of running either is really beneficial to us. And then I would say very important as it relates to, the process itself. We have now established what we refer to as the NavXpress manufacturing platform. This is a proprietary high-yielding suspension-based process. It incorporates our NavXcel production cell lines, very scalable, highly reproducible process, robust across various serotypes, different transgenes. And we believe, we're leading the industry when it comes to titers and production yield with that process. And the process itself, really tremendous evolution of it over the past, 5 to 7 years. We've seen an 800-fold yield improvement as compared to some of the original adherent processes that were run. So really excited to see that NavXpress platform in our new facility and performing well.
Understand. So with respect to your interactions with the regulators, as you were bringing that facility online, and now that you continue to interact with regards to the clinical programs, how would you say those interactions have changed recently, maybe over the course of the last year, with COVID restrictions being eased and largely behind us? So are you seeing any changes to basically help you streamline drug development in
how we work with the regulators? Sure.
Right.
I think we know in the cell and gene therapy space, the pace of development has been pretty tremendous, and I would say regulators' sort of ability to keep up with that has been a bit challenging. Specifically within the U.S., within FDA, CBER is going through a reorganization. They're forming a new super office for therapeutic products with a real improved focus on cell and gene therapy products. We'd expect that is going to help us quite a bit. They're also adding headcount so they can keep pace with the new IND filings and BLAs that are going in. We'd really expect this to improve review timelines, increase direct engagement, faster engagement, better collaboration with sponsors. And it will, we got to be a little bit patient with that. It will take time to establish more cell and gene therapy expertise within the agency. I think we find that the CBER leadership is very supportive of what we're trying to accomplish in gene therapy. They really recognize that, especially in rare diseases, there's a need for, a unique or a different drug development model that can accelerate these programs through a bit faster and, get therapies to patients that really have no other options.
Understand. And I guess staying on the COVID-related topic and how things have changed. Obviously, the year ago, one of the biggest concerns was related to supply chain issues. How would you say those are changing now? Would you say they're largely behind us, or there's still some residual delays? That's part one of the question, and perhaps proactively, what has Regenx done to continue to be prepared for any future disruptions?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was a real challenge, 2, 3 years ago as we were constructing a new facility and bringing in lots of new equipment and basically building out our inventory of raw materials and consumables and that type of thing. We're in a much better place now, I would say. Lead times, they've not yet returned to pre-COVID levels, but they have reduced. They've stabilized a bit. I would say supplier reliability, suppliers being able to meet their promise dates is much improved compared to 2 years ago. What have we done about it? In a way, COVID and the supply chain disruptions forced us to develop a more diverse supplier base, to ensure we had, second sources for materials, to go to suppliers that maybe had a bit of headspace with capacity. And I would say now, that hard work that we've put in the supply chain space is paying off for managing our risks going forward.
Got it. So, in general, I guess we can all agree that manufacturing gene therapies is not a trivial process, right? We've seen a number of companies go through difficulties. Your CDMO ran into some manufacturing difficulties with CO2 a while back that forced you to switch to your own facility. As a company, what have you learned from other companies' failures, and maybe perhaps you have some hard to learn lessons yourself that you're implementing?
Yeah, as you said, I mean, it's outsourcing and working with CDMOs. It can be really challenging. It's not an easy way to go, but there also are a lot of benefits to doing that. By bringing manufacturing in-house, though, you're really able to control your production schedule. You're able to control your compliance. You can reduce your cycle times overall. Prioritization becomes much clearer. You're not having to wait in line for another client's program to move through a CDMO before you get in. You can make your own decisions around prioritization. Oftentimes, at a CDMO, production failures can result in really several months of supply delay and restarts. Internally, you can control that a lot better. So we're no longer, solely reliant on CDMOs, but we still can leverage an external network when it makes sense. So it's there for us to complement our in-house capabilities. If we have a peak period of production demand, we're able to still tap into a CDMO network and use that to our advantage. I think another thing around lessons learned here is, some companies, I would say, have gotten locked into a manufacturing process that was derived from academic labs, years ago that really aren't well suited for commercialization. They're very expensive, manual processes, sort of inconsistent, low yielding. One of the things that Regenx Bio has done over the time is really evolve our process, invested heavily in process innovation and change management to get to a much more industrialized manufacturing platform, our NavExpress suspension-based platform, which really enables us to be commercial ready.
Got it. That makes sense. And in addition to basically investing into that and be future-proofing your capabilities, are there any other highlights that you can mention that set you apart from the competitors who are also investing heavily into their manufacturing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned, our expression platform, HEK293. I think that provides an advantage for us. It's the most, it is the most common, it's the most studied, it's the most understood expression platform. We've got a pretty extensive clinical experience with material produced from that platform. There's other expression platforms out there, insect cell line platforms, producer cell lines, but I think having the HEK process platform really gives us a leg up on a number of folks. The other big advantage I would see for us is we started investment actually in a process development, analytical development teams before we decided to build a manufacturing facility. So we now have those capabilities as well in-house that really complement and kind of feed new technologies and advances in the industry into the manufacturing environments. Those are all advantages for us.
Okay, got it. In I guess in gene therapy manufacturing, one of the challenges that we see consistently pop up are issues with CMC. But what would you say currently are the biggest CMC challenges in gene therapy right now? And from your perspective, how does your internal manufacturing capabilities help with that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the biggest challenge in this space, it's reliable, high quality drug supply and getting it on time. There's been a lot of discussion over the years about the capacity within the industry to produce gene therapy products. And, for me, when I look at that capacity, it's not so much about, is there brick and mortar there? Are there facilities around? It's whether you've got the people capability and capacity to know how to make these, highly complex, AAV products. So having that in-house now, not only do we have the facility, we have the equipment, we have the process, but having a team of folks that's now experienced, stable, we can nurture that talent base, and have that within our roof is something that reduces a lot of the risks out there for drug supply.
Got it. So you mentioned, you made several references to talent and the importance of having a solid team help with development. And we've heard consistently, again, last year and before that, that during peak COVID, talent acquisition was one of the biggest challenges in biotech industry in general. Now that we saw a number of companies undergoing restructuring and laying off workforce, do you see a dramatic change in talent availability now? Would you say that bottleneck is largely behind us now?
Yeah, I don't know that I would categorize it as dramatic. We're definitely in a better spot. We're seeing more resumes, more candidates out there to pick and choose from. So I think we're better from that perspective. One important thing for us, obviously, not just attracting, new talent into the facility, but also making sure that, our culture, our work culture is where employees and talent, they want to stay. Regenx Bio as a company, the last couple of years, we've won an award for top place to work. That's important. It's important for getting some attention and bringing folks in, but keeping them here as well. And then continuing to sort of invest in advancing their skill sets for highly specific, hard to fill roles, things of that nature, really important. And then longer term, we have a focus on talent development and the pipeline of new folks coming into the industry. Last summer, I believe we had something like 37 interns here. For a company of our size, that's a huge number. We end up hiring some of those interns, when they graduate from school. And then we even go back as far into high school STEM programs to sort of pique interest in the life sciences. And I think it's going to take all of those things to be able to secure the talent pipeline for biotech going forward.
Got it. Understand. And I see we're running out of questions. Running out of time. But Maybe we can leave on a forward-looking question. Where do you think the field of gene therapy is going, and what important innovations in manufacturing might better enable your platform to meet or exceed um, the future goals?
Yeah, from a manufacturing perspective, I think processes are only getting more reliable, more consistent. The scale is increasing. I don't see it going too much further behind, further beyond 2,000 liter scale. Automation is becoming more and more important to integrate into the process for better control. And then, of course, process yields. I think there's still a lot of space to continue to get more output per cell. And we'll continue to invest in that area as well to unlock a reduction cost of goods and more robust supply. And then lastly, I would say, especially for rare diseases, having a process platform across multiple programs, super important so that you can reduce redundancy from one program to the next, be more efficient, effective. And I think regulators will get more comfortable with that in time as well.
Got it. Thank you. I believe you're out of time, but Craig, thank you so much for attending and sharing your perspectives. Really appreciate having you here.
Thank you.